Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Japanese and we're going to look at how the recent buffs and nerfs have impacted the different meta strats for the Japanese. So we are going to try to do a Pro Scouts take on both using Core Storehouse and Dark Age rushing, but also Shinobi rushing for land maps. Then we're going to look at water with the classic Shinobi take and a nice little wheelbarrow opening there with some 3 fishing boats to give you a nice eco start too for the hybrid games. So yeah, if you are interested in the build order, they are in the description. You can always find the build orders down there in all of my build order videos. And yeah, let's get to it. The first build we are going to talk about is going to be the Land Shinobi Rush into Pro Scouts Fast Castle. This is a strong build to use on your land maps, and it is different because it's adapted to the current meta of Pro Scouts, so we don't need to get our storehouse, which is what most Japanese players are familiar with. If you're used to playing the old style of Japanese, where you're always struggling to get to Castle Age because you're trying to skip Feudal Age, worry not. This is a lot easier for you to deal with, because with this build, you're going to be the one that puts on the pressure on your opponent. You are going to be the one that takes initiative and covers for your Castle Age. So don't be afraid that this build is a bit more complicated than what you're doing normally. Just think, hey, I'm not going to be attacked all the time, and that's great. There are some instances where we're not even going to make a tower. All right, let's talk about it. So what you want to do is you want to do a simple opener. I like simple openers because they make everything more adaptable. So just put 6 in food, put 2 to gold, right? And then go back to food until you can age up. Simple as that. Looks like this. House with 1 food villager, mining camp with your 7th villager, and the 8th villager going to gold. That's it. Back to food with your rally point, and then scout aggressively. Make sure that your opponent's not Dark Age rushing you. Stuff like that is very nice to know, because then you can go and gather more gold for the Feudal Age, so you can then respond to the Dark Age aggression with minimal investment and then not be delayed by it. So, scout aggressively, take a look at what your opponent's doing, make sure that they're doing what you think they're going to do, right? We're taking a look at if he's doing a barracks opening here, but he's just doing a military school opening, so we know his spear timing is much later. He might not even attack us. Then, what we're going to do is we're going to age up here at about 212. We're going to go with the Koka Township. So we built the Koka Township towards the front here, and we are going to use the Shinobis to harass the enemy's gold. The new units that come out, they're quite strong at dealing with them. They're fragile units, but they do 20 damage, and they can blink, they can stealth as enemy units. They can also sabotage, which is a lot of damage that you can do to things that are being constructed. So, because of that, we want to also get production of Shinobis after we get our Pro Scouts. For now, we're gathering for Pro Scouts, so put 4 in gold, 4 in food, so you have villager production, and then rally to wood until you have about 7 in wood. That's pretty simple. Then when the township is up, you take those villagers and you put them back to the sheep. So we are setting ourselves up for Pro Scouts with Shinobi Harass. The Shinobi can also help us defend against horsemen and kill enemy scouts if they're doing Pro Scouts as well, which is highly likely. The goal of the whole Pro Scouts thing is to at least get 2 deer packs, preferably the safe ones. If you can get your opponent's ones as well, then do so. But your goal should be to at least get the 2 safe deer packs that you have. If you don't Pro Scout and you allow your opponent to get all 4 deer packs, that's pretty much a GG. So you should probably make an effort here to go for the Pro Scouts. All right. So as we can see, we're almost at the gold that we need. We're going to build another house here, and then we're going to queue up Pro Scouts. It's 100 wood and 275 gold. We're just going to queue it up before we get our stable, because it takes a fair bit of time to research. Enough time for us to get a few Shinobis out and the scouts we need. We're going to make 3 scouts. So for now, just gather wood from straggler trees. If you build a lumber camp too early, it's going to delay you too much. So just gather the straggler trees, get the wood you need for a stable, and then build the stable. Then use your Shinobis. After you've researched or put into research the professional scouts, you can produce more Shinobi. Get 3-4 of them if you want to. And then use them aggressively. You can do a lot of damage with them. They can kill units quite easily. And sure, they also take a lot of damage. Therefore, it's good to group them up, right? Make another house. Then we are looking to re-macro in a little bit. We're going to get a lumber camp. And then we're going to re-macro because here at about 6 minutes, we realize the opponent is quite far behind. Here you can see the Shinobi is also quite good at taking out enemy sheep. You micro well, you can also get around these kinds of fights quite easily. Scouts are out. They're going for the deer packs over here. We have the Pro Scouts already researched. And so now we're just asking ourselves, do we need to invest more into the feudal age? We saw what our opponent was doing. He was doing an archer range. So we can make a horseman if we want to. Or we can wait a little bit, get the stone we need, and then get an Uma Bannerman and a tower instead to cover our castle age, which is what we're going to do here. So don't be afraid to stay in feudal, but if you're going to go up anyways, this is kind of the moments you want to assess the situation, figure out what is it that's going on. So yeah. Watch out with enemy archers. They're quite efficient at dealing with Shinobis. This is a real game, right? So we're also looking at, okay, counters, what are we actually dealing with? Okay, let's go back. Let's reevaluate. What are we doing? Okay, well, now we're going to make that tower as a response to him going for archers and spears, which isn't really that strong unless he chooses to go for a ram. And a ram would be very rushed from him and would allow me to just go for the deers. So that would be a good situation for me. So here, I'm just macroing with 1 in wood. I'm going pretty heavy on food. And I end up putting up to 9 villagers here on gold in a moment. Then he's going to come around the south side. I'm going to speed build the tower a bit whilst I take the deer. Alright, so now it's pretty much the end of the build order. You get into Castle Age. And depending on what's going on in your game, you will be responding to that in different ways. This is how I choose to respond to a little bit of harass. Just make a tower. You can upgrade it if you want to, but if you upgrade it, you won't get your tier 1 daimyo. So now we get the stone, we did the drop off, we're going to get the daimyo, and then we're going to make an Uma Bannerman, because if he makes a ram, that Uma Bannerman will take care of the few units that he's making. And we can also basically, you know, as a process of elimination, with 4 on gold, him only making a couple of archers and spears, infer that he's going to go for Castle Age himself. And so we definitely want to get up. We don't want to invest into feudal age. Over-investing can be a killer. Here we get 2 villager kills, which are very nice. We lose 1 Shinobi though, because he insta-pops. We actually lose 2 of them, but it's worth it, right? You get 2 villager kills, it's quite nice. And we don't really have much use for the Shinobi later on. There's some players that would like to go for a more feudal-heavy army and then continue to produce Shinobi and have like 8, 10 Shinobis. That's a very different approach and one that you can use if you want to play against civs like Order of the Dragon, or I would say even Knight civs to some extent. Of course, this build here going into Onimushas is also a way to counter Knights. Anyway, so we've got our Uma Bannerman now, and we can use the Uma Bannerman to harass, to defend. Got a lot of utility with this unit. It's got deflective armor, so it can also take a little bit of damage here. And we just use it to take out these 4 units, which is nice. Here at 845, we take all of our Berryvilles. We have 10 Berryvilles here. We start aging up with Floating Gate. We are also pro-scouting the enemy deer. And then what we're doing is we're going to go into Mounted Samurai, and then Onimushas, as you know it if you've played Japanese before. If you played Japanese before, you will recognize this style, where you open up with Onimushas, or Mountain Samurai, or both, and then you make a switch. So I'm going to speed through the rest of the game here, so that this video doesn't take too long, and then just explain just in short what I'm doing. Basically, I'm up, I put my Yurushiro inside of my stable, which is what you get out of the Floating Gate, kind of a relic thing. Put it inside the stable so you can produce a lot faster. Then I'm going to start making Mountain Samurai. Here they are. I'm going to start raiding with them. I still have the Uma Bannerman. He's being kited. He's cutting 2 knights here, which is very good idle time, right? Because then we can go and harass the enemy Goldvilles here. We can see the enemies making Springles. Sticking to the Springle meta currently. But we just use our Uma Bannerman to harass. The damaged ones you can always take back and then heal up with your Shinto priests. Right. Start grabbing relics. Again, if you don't have the wood yet for Monastery, just put them on the ground by the TC, go for the next one. Use the momentum you have, right? Don't sit and wait. Then, you know, get all your upgrades, get your survival techniques, get your double broadaxe, your +1 ranged armor. We know we're up against ranged units because of the archer range before. And just in general, getting those are great if you want to go dive on the TCs, which is what we're going to do here. Then we're adding in Onimushas because our enemy is making knights. Now we're adding in a bunch of barracks. These only cost 75 wood now, which is very neat for this transition that we'd like to do, which is to go very heavy into melee infantry and Onimusha. We don't want to stick too heavy to knights. We still want to make knights, but not too heavy. Then we go for a raid. this is what you want to do with Japanese. You want to use that mobility that you have. If you're just taking straight on fights with Mano Samurai, you're playing it wrong. You want to play very aggressively. Make sure that when your opponent's attacking you or posturing outside your base, is when you're actually hitting him in his base, causing a lot of damage, right? That's what you want. So at this stage of the game, we have killed 14 vills. So he's down to 30 villagers. We had 46. We have Yodishiros. We have relics. We have 4 barracks now ready to produce Onabugashas and spears. And so this situation is very, very good for us. The only thing he can realistically do now is just go for a kind of all-in push. And if that doesn't work for him, he's out of the game. So, good situation. A lot of raiding. Shinobis, Umabanamen, Onamushas. All the different stages up until this point provided us the time we needed to go for the Castle Age and get our transition going. So now we're going to go mass melee. We're going to get the melee upgrades, the Itsukuri, and then we're going to do some Onamushas here. Raid. We're going to try to deny some of the relics here. And then we're going to, you know, we're going to take our melee force, pump it all together with the range force, and then we're going to go for a big push. That's our goal after. Here we lost a couple of Onamushas. It's pretty insignificant because we're already so far ahead. A lot of idle time is created with this mobility, so use your cavalry actively all the time. If you're not using your military, then why did you make it, right? So, make military units and then use them. Even if they're just running around enemy bases, they're doing damage by idling out the enemy's economy. It's also forcing the opponent to go back all the time, because if he doesn't, he's going to lose stuff. So, this is a way for you to buy the time you need to build up a big mass of units so that you can ball into their enemy's base, and then win the game. So yeah, that's pretty much how you play it out. Now we've got about 6 barracks here. They're all just fully pumping geishas. We are going for the upgrades. Both of the geisha upgrade, the spear upgrade, the tier 3 melee upgrade. We've gone to another gold because we gather a lot of gold when we play as the Japanese. And now we're just going to go for a big push, and I think he actually forfeits here in a moment. So yeah, big fight here. Feels good to go for these kinds of things. He went greedy for the second TC, which is kind of necessary because he lost so many vills. Yeah, if you don't go for the second TC yourself, there's no way for him to come back into the game. Just go for the all-in that situation. All right, let's get to the next build. The second build we're going to take a look at is going to be the Dark Age Samurai Rush into Pro Scouts. Again, we're in a Pro Scouts meta. We're trying to overcome our opponent's Pro Scouts, and one of the best ways you can do that is actually to rush them early, because you're going to create a delay for them to get their scout upgrade, which means you get started on the Pro Scouts much faster than they will. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go for a barracks opener. We're going to put 2 to build the barracks, and then we put 4 to food, and then we're going to rally onto food. We're going to go up to 8 on food, and then we're going to go up to 4 on gold. We're going to get a couple of upgrades here. We're going to queue 1 samurai. It looks like this. Basically, build your barrack, right? Queue up your villagers, scout forward. You want to scout your enemy's gold. Sometimes it's in the front, sometimes it's in the back. It matters, but it's not the end of the game if the gold is in the back. So don't worry too much about it. All right, so barracks goes up, 2 villagers are constructing it, we're rallying onto food. Afterwards, we build a house with one of the villas, and the other vill goes and starts chopping the tree. So what are we doing here? Well, we want to get the house built close to the TC, so we don't have to go all the way out here, because this villager here that's building the house is going back to wood after. So you basically have those 2 villagers gathering all the wood you need. You don't have to take any additional ones, you just rally onto the sheep until you have 8 on sheep. Basically, that's it. Then afterwards, you go up to 4 on gold. So it's pretty simple. You queue up 1 samurai, you queue up 1 Tawara, and then you take the samurai, you find the enemy's gold, and then you take a look at, okay, where is the enemy's gold? And you put the samurai there, and then you harass. You don't lose your samurai to the TC fire. You try to create as much idle time as possible. If you can get villager kills, I mean, amazing. A lot of the times, especially in leagues below Conqueror, and I would say even Conqueror 1s and Conqueror 2s do this. It's like, people will overreact like crazy. So get that 1 samurai out there, do some damage, have some fun, and then delay the opponent's Pro Scouts. This is the #1 stopper to build orders. It's like, oh shit, I have a spearman or a samurai in my base. What am I going to do, right? That's what you're trying to create here, that situation. All right, so now you got that 50 wood. You got 8 on food. We're now rallying onto gold, and we're building a forge, which is our mining camp. And then we're going up to 4 on gold. We'll go up to 4 on gold because what we're trying to do here is to have the villages that we need to collect the gold for Pro Scouts there from the beginning. So there's less idle time for moving back and forth. All right. So, in on food, 4 on gold, continue to scout the entire map, and then, you know, just use that samurai. Again, the goal is not to get villager kills. It's nice if you can, but just try to get some damage through. If he starts pulling his villagers to try to kill your samurai, that's even better for you because every second matters. If you idle here for like, let's say that's like 7 villas here, right? And each village is gathering 40 resources per minute. If you idle them for a whole minute, then that's like 280 resources or something that he's losing. So that's massive. Plus the villagers being moved and stuff. So, all right. So now we lost our samurai. That's fine. We cost a lot of idle time. We're going to go up with the Kura storehouse. And the reason we go up with the Kura storehouse is because we have already caused a lot of harassment. We don't really need shinobis. Technically, you can go for shinobis because we're going for pro scouts. So we don't really need the farms. But again, that's up to you how you want to play it. I'm going to go Kura storehouse here because I like having the additional food for playing out the feudal age and castle age eventually. So go up to the next stage, build a house on the berries if you want to gather from the berries. Then next up, you're just going to rally until you have 7 on wood. And then you go back to food and you can macro to castle age whenever you feel it's right. Typically after you've taken the deers. I like to produce a couple of spearmen as well. After I've gotten the gold I need for Pro Scouts. Because scouts are often quite vulnerable to cavalry. So getting a few spears out there is always a good idea. At about 7 minutes in, we're also going to get tier 1 Daimyo Manor, which can give us Uma Bannerman. And if you watched the previous build order and you didn't skip this, then you know what I mean with the Uma Bannerman. It's good for raiding, it's good for defending. So use that one actively. Yeah. So now we're just rallying onto food. Got those on gold. We've got the Pro Scouts in queue from the Kura storehouse. You can also queue it up in the house. And then we are going to get a stable. Building the stable with 2 vills, and then we're going to get scouts. He's up now quite late. Again, most players, they age up about 425-ish with Ayubits, and he aged up more than a minute later. And I would say that's a really good payoff, because if you consider the research time of Pro Scouts to be 1 minute 15 seconds, that's already quite a big delay. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome here. Again, I built a couple spears. I'm going to queue up my scouts from the stable. And then I'm going to try to macro for castle when I feel I am safe to do so. Again, I want to make sure that I get the deers I need, and I don't want to be up to castle too late. You can also take your scout and take some of the enemy's deer here. Be a little bit cheeky. Don't have to go and try to fully contest the enemy's deer. Again, in that situation, like, okay, I make 2 spearmen. That's enough for me to defend here, and I can always make more if I want to. I don't want to invest into 20 military units to try to deny these 2 deers, because I just need to get a better castle timing than him, so I can take relics and get started on my mountain samurai. I don't really want to get feudal age units. So that's the thinking behind here. Now we're going up to 10 on gold. We have 1 on wood again, and then we're just rallying onto the deer. We're getting survival techniques. We already got it in queue in our Kura storehouse. And we just get it whenever we have deers coming back, and then we just go on the deers. That's pretty much it. So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. We're just macroing towards the castle age. We're not really building any more units. We're just putting bills in the farms. And then we're taking enemy deer. Taking our own deer, so we get a little bit of an advantage there. Then we age up with 8 villagers here. And we macro towards getting an archer range again, so we can get on Mushas. And of course, Mountain Samurai, we want to go for the relic game now, so that's a different phase, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Dark Age rush into Pro Scouts build. Now you're going to go heavy on cavalry. You're going to play it out. You can make spears and amushas, mount samurai. Just go for those raids. Have a good time. Not really much more to say here. This is now standard Japanese. If you want to go second TC, I'd typically do it against people who play very defensive or passive. Here, that's not really the case. Our opponent's playing aggressive. So you can do so as well. Try to contest the relics. And if you can't contest them, all-ins are sometimes a really good idea. So don't be afraid to do that. So anyways, we produce spears, Anamushas, Mountain Samurai, and then we have to fight against these Ayabid units. And yeah, it's eventually a win in just a couple of minutes here, so we can just skip through it. It's not going to take too long. A couple of fights here, a little bit of micro, right? We use our deflective armor against the Ayabids, it's quite strong. We try to take out the enemy scholars, I should say, dervish, Onimushas and Mount Samurai together, going for big raids, splitting up here, so spears and Onimushas together. I really like this composition because it allows you to play against cavalry much better, and there's a lot less micro. Then you can take your Mount Samurai and go raid with them. Just watch out, enemy cavalry as well, coming around. Alright, they have a really long wind-up time. Onimushas good for raiding as well, so you can do these run-bys. And yeah. Then eventually you're going to win. Your opponent's going to tap out when he realizes this is no longer possible. So there you are. GG. The last build we're taking a look at is going to be the water build. And this is the first time I'm really including a water build with these civs build order guides. But I think it's absolutely crucial if you're a Japanese player that you understand how to play water, because water is essential to this civ. This is one of the main reasons why you might even pick them up, is because they are absolutely dominant on water. As you can see here, my opponent also picked Japanese, and it just goes to show how incredibly strong they are on these types of hybrid maps. They're not as strong as Shushi or Chinese or Order of the Dragon or HRE on the big archipelago or Warring Island type maps, but any other type of hybrid map like Nagari, like Lakeside, Four Lakes, right? Those maps are where Japanese shine, because they have good timings, they have shinobis, and they have cheap fishing boats. So even with the nerf to the costs, now costing 56 wood, we can still get very, very competitive timings here in the Dark Age. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to take 5 villagers to wood. You're going to gather these 2 straggler trees. Again, don't delete your straggler trees with anything, right? Gather 2 straggler trees with these, and then go back to food. That's what you're doing with these villagers. Then you're going to rally 3 villagers to sheep, and your 4th food villager is going to be the one here that's going to go to construct a dock in placement over here. Not in placement, a dock building. We're going to put the dock over here just besides the shoreline fish. We're watching out not to delete it. Then we put a villager on the shoreline fish, and we use the deep sea fish over here for our 3 fishing boats, because we're going to go with 3 fishing boats and then go for a fast age up timing. That way we can come with some early aggression on the water and on the land as well. Again, a reason why Japanese is so good here. Alright, that's the first straggler tree gathered. Now we've got farmhouse, and we're going to queue up Tawara. So I really like this wheelbarrow upgrade because it's easy to fit it in the early stages of the game. It doesn't create too much idle time, and it starts stacking up, you know, quite a lot when you're gathering wood, because you have a lot of moving back and forth. Then, you know, make your fishing boats. You're going to make a total of 3 of them, and you always go to the deep water fish because there's way higher gather rate on deep water compared to shoreline for fishing boats. It's kind of the opposite for villagers. Villagers, of course, can't gather from deep water fish, but they gather faster than boar when they're on shoreline fish. So they're very strong for that matter. Then we rally 3 to gold. So we have the 3 to sheep, the 5 to wood, and then we get 3 to gold. Here we finish the tree, we go back to food. That's going to give us our nice age up timing here. Typically you would go with 2, but we went for the tier 1 wheelbarrow, and so we go for 3 instead to make up for that difference in spending. Let's speed up a little bit here. We're scouting our enemy. We know that he went for water as well with the late forge. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go and try to harass that forge now. Then we H up, and with the H up, we're immediately going to re-macro. So go and collect the last straggler tree. This is why we kept that one. Don't delete it. Keep it so that you can get your lumber camp up and running, so you can get your house going. Just keep your 3 villagers on gold. Your 3 boats here. Your villager here. H up with 6 villagers. And the H up villagers can go back to food after. Build a house with 2 villagers. Then a lumber camp. And then try to assess your opponent. What is he doing? Is he going to go with Shinobi landmark? Nope. He's going to go with Kura storehouse. And so this means that he is not afraid of losing water, because why would you go for extra food if you already have fish? So he's going to try to get a faster castle age timing due to the fact that he's not going to invest into the water. So we're going to invest into the water, and we're going to make shinobis, and then we can think about how to counter this forward position here for him. He has gold in the front, which is kind of unfortunate if you want to go for a greedy thing like this. So you have a couple of options here. You can make more feudal age units. You can make more shinobi. Again, your opponent, you can also go and make a tower if you like it on your opponent's gold. So now we re-macro again. Again, all of this is linked in the build orders below, so you can always check it out there. Then we use a scout to harass the enemy veil here on the dock, create some idle time. use the Shinobi here. Again, I lose my Shinobi a little bit here in the beginning because, again, there's a lot of stuff to pay attention to. And, yeah. So, Doc's making an archer ship, killed a bunch of ships. What I did here was I put my archer ship in between the gather point, and so they had some pathing issues, and then I killed 2 boats. I think I'm a little bit more cautious here with this Shinobi. Again, it's a little bit, you know, of a situation to figure out, okay, can I actually go in or not? So here I just say, okay, screw it. I'm gonna have my 2 Shinobis defend my villagers, make a tower here, and then block him from wood, block him from gold. Then I can go with my Shinobis on his 2nd gold in the back, and then full block him from gold. Not Castle Age, but to make Castle Age units, he needs gold, and that's going to be a lot harder for him. After that, I just macro towards Castle Age. Alright, so the tower goes up. And then I can upgrade the tower and pretty much cover most of his line. Alright, we H up. 8:30. We get started on the H up. We H up with 11 wills here because we want to get a faster timing. We've covered the enemy's gold. And then we have our Shinobi inside of the tower as long as we're waiting for upgrades, right? Then after that, we can take our Shinobi out and start harassing the enemy gold. Take your villagers back, no reason to keep them out here. And then start going Mounted Samurai, start taking relics, do your thing. Again, it's all about the early game when you play Japanese. Most of the mid-late game looks kind of the same. It's how you play out the feudal age that matters the most. So here, we go ahead and harass the enemy gold here. We get quite a lot of villager kills. This is a really nice situation, not only because of the villager kills, but also because we full deny the gold. And because of that, we can then have a very nice start to the feudal age. We have a little situation here with the Shinto priest not dropping off. But that's what you get from a real game. So, sometimes you make mistakes. Anyways, full denial of gold, both the bottom one and the top one, means that he cannot make many Mounted Samurais. So that's pretty much it. I make Onimushas here. I can speed it up a little bit. Mounted Samurai and Onimushas, and then I start taking relics. I have some fights here early with the enemy Mounted Samurai. Because I was up a little bit later, I have a little bit fewer of them. But he's not able to produce more of them, so I end up overtaking him quite quickly. So we have a few fights here. Onimushas are out, quite good at dealing with. And because we know his army's in the front, we take our own Mounted Samurai and we go for some harassment. We've covered the enemy gold. We killed the enemy units moving to the front. And yeah, this is a pretty GG situation if I was to say so myself. He has no resources. We're just taking relics, just having a good time. So there you have it. Hope you guys can enjoy these guides on the ladder and if you're practicing for tournament. And yeah, I will have some coaching info now if you guys are interested in that. I do coaching on all civs and you can always message me on Discord. There's a username there you can contact. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.